The heart of our missions is that God will be glorified and the others will know the grace of God who has called us. Learn how God is using the lives of people like you and like me to expand His kingdom. This is Between Brothers.
Is it going to be English or Spanish?
Oh yeah, English to start,
All
and
right.
probably another day Spanish because I think it's the end of the day. I don't think we have enough time to do both.
Yo les traigo.
All right.
If we really wanted to power through, we could do
it's
2
fine.
hours straight, doing English first and then Spanish.
We can do one.
All right.
1 hour.
All right, all right, let's pray. Lord, thank you for this time with my brother and sister in Christ to be here and to talk at the end of a week, at the end of a long day, and share about what you have done in their lives. I pray that you would guide the conversation, that you would be glorified and honored in the conversation, that it would be a blessing to us and anyone else who may happen to listen to this story, Lord. We trust that you work at every single one of your children, and that means that we can all share about what you have done for us and what you have done in us and through us. And so I pray that that's what would happen now. I pray this in Christ's name, amen.
Amen.
All right, so let's do that again. Name and where you're from.
Okay, so my name is Debbie, and I was born in La Grange, Georgia, here in the States, but I grew up in Mexico.
Ah, okay. Wait, what, Georgia? LaGrange?
Uh-huh.
Okay.
Yes.
LaGrange, Georgia. When did you move from Georgia to Mexico?
I was like a month old.
Oh,
I don't remember,
man.
yeah. So,
Okay, so that's a whole story on its own.
Yeah.
We'll see if we get there or not. All right. And where in Mexico did you grow up?
I was in Mexico City for 5 years, and then we moved to another state that is called Tlaxcala. And yeah, that's where I grew.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Marley.
Mine is more simple. I'm from Honduras. Well, kind of simple. And I grew up in different cities in Honduras. And then God brought me here
All
into
right.
the States.
All right, what's your full name?
Marley Abdiel Hernandez Murillo.
Marley Abdiel Hernandez Murillo.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I normally remember the Marley Hernandez part, but every time I go to WhatsApp, I have to remember Abdiel because it's saved there under Abdiel for some reason. So, all right, very good. Okay, so this is how we normally start the conversation lately, and it's been working pretty well. So, if each of you think if you were going to divide up your life into 3 sections, 3 épocas,
Yeah.
periodos,
Yeah.
so periods or sections of your life, how would you divide it up? And it's always different for everyone. So just think for a second and then share how would you divide your life up if you had to divide it up into 3 sections.
Well,
Like not spatially wise, but time wise, like on your timeline.
okay, I guess.
All right. What you got, Debbie?
Well, I would say like probably since I was born all the way up till I was 15, because that's when I moved to the States, like back to the States, but without my parents. So that was a whole thing for me. So just probably spending like my early childhood, I guess, and like my early teen years in Mexico with my parents, and then coming here to the States was a whole chapter, and then I closed it going back home again, and then I guess I reopened it when I came back here to RGBI.
Okay.
So yeah, I guess that's
Okay, so Mexico,
and then
U.S.,
US,
and then Mexico, U.S.
yeah, I guess.
You almost have 4 sections.
No, it's 'cause, like it's all kind of mixed. Like
Yeah. When you went back to Mexico this again, how old were you?
I was 18.
So you came when you were 15, went back when 18,
Yes.
and then how old were you when you came to the Bible college?
19, I think.
Oh, okay, so just a year.
Yeah.
So not like a
It
big
was
time.
Like a gap of
You came
year,
pretty young. I
Yeah.
didn't realize you were that young when you came. Okay, Marley, how would you divide your life up into 3 sections?
I'm going to go from the beginning until I was 15, and then 16 to 24, and then 25 up to here.
Okay, and what is it that makes you like draw the lines there?
15, it's when we moved from one city to another. We left our life as living in a seminary and become the family of a church. My dad was a pastor in the church, So that's when we moved. And then 24 was whenever I decided to come and study here in RGVI.
Okay. All right. So now we have a lot of stuff we could talk about.
Yes.
A lot of things we could jump into. To give us a little bit of background, though, okay, you grew up in a Christian home. Your dad was a missionary, a pastor. Pastor. Okay. Debbie, what about you?
Nothing. My parents were normal people.
But did you grow up?
Your parents are not.
No,
normal,
but did you grow up going to church? Did you?
Yeah, my parents were Christians since before I was born. So yes,
Okay.
I grew up in church. My parents were never like elders or anything like that, but they were always involved at church, like with children's ministry or choir ministry or any kind of ministry my parents could help. They were there. So I was there kind of all the time. Yeah.
Yeah. And each of you, when did you come to know the Lord personally?
I was little. I was a kid. I can't tell you exactly the day, but I remember. I was little, and it was on a VBS that the church that I attended made, and that's when I accepted Christ. I don't exactly remember the date or hour, but yeah. I was like around 6.
Okay.
6 or 7.
Yeah. At Church VBS. Cool.
That was part of my division, because I believe that I became a believer when I was 16.
Okay.
Once we changed our lives, also a lot of things happened, and that's when I was like, oh yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah.
Hey, this story is for you and also for others, so share with your friends. My name is Jennifer Rodriguez, I'm from El Salvador, and this is Between Brothers.
When you were 15, 16, your life changed.
Yeah.
You came to know the Lord, but also you moved. Some of your family dynamics changed a little bit, it seems like. I'm remembering back, we have done a podcast in Spanish with you.
Yep.
And I'm remembering some of your story a little bit.
Yeah.
So share what were the major factors that changed, like, the way you saw life, the direction of your life at that point in your life, and what changed with your family? I remember you sharing about your father. Something also changed with your father somewhere in there.
Yeah, so my big change was around when I was 10 years old. My favorite person in this world was my grandfather from my dad's side. And I always ask God, like, how is that you're telling me that you love me, but you take away my favorite person, right?
When did
that was like 10 years.
10? Okay.
I was 10, more or less. And then we moved city, everything is new, a lot of things in my family going on. It's a really, really hot city, and then we used to live in like kind of in the mountains. It was kind of cold. And I remember that it was so hot that my mom started hitting my back, and then I was like, stop bothering me, please, just let me go. And then I remember that, like, after I have no idea how many times, I remember that I pushed her to the wall, and I just look at her, and I'm like, I have no idea what I just did, and I just went to my room. So next day my dad came. He was in a trip. He came, he called me into his room, and somehow he managed to lock me in his room too. And he gave me a little letter from my grandfather that it was one of like a little project that we did when I was in 6th grade or something like that. And in the letter, I remember that it says something like, I'm super proud of you, and I wish that I can be there for you right now. And it just broke my heart, and I just started crying. And then that was the moment when my dad and we started talking about a lot of things. And then like a week later, as a family, we started studying the book of Job. And I was like, man, I just made one little mistake, and he lost everything, basically. He was super sick, and I'm like, God, I'm so sorry. And I remember that I was listening to a song that basically it says, it's just by his grace and by his mercy. And I started crying, and I said, Lord, forgive me. I made a huge mistake, and until this day, I keep playing that song in my guitar, because it just remembers me like how graceful is God, how merciful He was with me. Yeah.
And something I remember from our previous conversation was also just like your relationship with your father changed as well from that day, like just being able to talk about things.
Oh, yes.
And everything. So that relationship with your heavenly father and your earthly father both happened at the same time, a change.
Yes. And we became like super close. And till this day, I mean, this week some things happens and I'm like, Dad, can I call you? And he's like, yeah, all right. And we kept talking, and he just became like a really good friend for me. Yeah.
Okay, so Debbie, you had a big change when you were 15 as well, right? That was one of your lines as well. So moving to the U.S.
Yep.
Okay, so you could share about that, but basically in your growing up years, it could be when you're 15 or 18 or whatever, was there a moment that, or maybe various moments that changed your life, or that you remember kind of pointing you in the direction that you would end up going afterward? Like, was the move like the big thing, or were there other things?
No, it was, but it wasn't. So when I was 15, I was looking for the High School Musical dream, right? Like, you come to the States in a high school here, like everyone is just like the movies, right? That did not happen. Of course.
Did you come back to Georgia?
Yes, I went back to Georgia. That's where I have two uncles and one aunt that lives there.
Okay.
So I was there with one aunt for 3 years, kind of a thing. And so I went into high school and I thought, like, this is like the movie, this is a dream. And it was not like that. And through those 3 years, the Lord showed me just several things that, like, not in a bad way, in a sense of like, this is not the dream. The dream didn't matter at that point anymore. It was
like the American dream, like that going and everything's gonna be.
It was just more with my heart. Like, a lot of things I had to fix. Not that they weren't fixed, but I was just putting it in the back burner, just like I'll deal with this later, whatever. And I think that's when I knew the Lord since I was little, but I always grew up at church, so it was like, okay, you accepted Christ, now your work or your homework is just to grow with the Lord, right? And how do you do that? Well, you serve, you read your Bible, you pray, and that's about it, right? So I guess as a Christian, you can try your best, but until I feel like until the Lord like actually talks to you, especially when you grew up in church just like that, then your mind won't make that connection or like, oh, this is actually the real God, and I think that happened to me when I was here. My parents were not here anymore. My mom, I could call her or my dad anytime, but they were not gonna be like physically there if I had a problem. No one was gonna tell me, hey, are you reading your Bible? Are you praying? Like my aunt, she's a Christian, but she wasn't like behind me like that, in her family, her kids grew up more like independently, like you do your things and I'll be there if you need anything, but you do your things, right? And in my house was kind of the opposite. My mom was like, are you doing this? Have you done this? Whatever, right? So it was a big change for me in that sense, to grow up like as a person, I guess, and have more maturity in me, but also like I said, on my walk with the Lord, because no one was there behind me. I mean, so I had to, made friends at new church. I didn't speak the language, so it was a whole challenge for me.
Did you come for the purpose of school? Like that was the main reason for the move?
Well, the main reason was just to learn English, and it was gonna be for 1 year. And I was going to go back because after a year I was going to learn all the English I could, and that was it, right? And I did, honestly, I did. The Lord kind of like helped in that process, and I was really passionate about the language, so I think that helped as well.
Okay.
But I just kind of like fell in love with the just in general with the life. And I was like, Mom, please let me stay one more year. And then after 2 years, I was like, please let me stay another year. Like, I'm already more than halfway, so let me just finish high school, right?
Okay.
But during that time, a lot of things happened with my aunt. Yeah. So
Okay, good job. So, share with me one of the biggest culture shocks moving to the U.S. when you were
Okay.
first 15, 16. And then also, what was one of the biggest things that the Lord taught you about your relationship with Him during those 3 years?
Okay. The big cultural shock.
I mean, there's probably lots
a
of
lot
things.
of things.
The language is one. You already said that. So
Yeah,
something
the
else.
language. Just probably the way like people live their lives. Like, to me, it was like so shocking that kids would get their own car when they were 16 and they could do anything. Like, you know, you had your whole day ready and your mom was working all the time, and you maybe you did see your mom maybe after or at the end of the day, right?
Yeah.
But maybe you didn't see her, and that was okay. That's the culture, you know. And to me, that was like, whoa, because in Mexico, it's all about family. So in here, it was like, okay, so there's no family time here, or what? I mean,
Wow.
which is, some families did have their family time, but it looked different to me.
Right.
So that was probably another one. And also, in my mind, I had this like, oh, everybody's gonna be so friendly with you, and that did not happen, you know. And especially in Georgia, I don't know how many Hispanic people are in Georgia, but it's probably the minority of them. So I was in a classroom of 27 students, and I was probably the third Hispanic, you know, and I didn't speak the language. I don't look any, like, you know, my skin is tan, so it's like, you look different. You don't speak the language. And my aunt's lifestyle wasn't like, you know, like in a preppy girl standard where I had the best card and all this kind of stuff, right? So that does make difference. Especially, I guess, when you're a teenager.
Like,
so
you
me,
weren't fitting into that.
Exactly.
Like,
So I was, and something else that I saw here was that they had groups. You belong to this group or you belong to this one, and I couldn't fit on any of those. So
do
I
they
was
still
like,
call them cliques or something like that, you know?
I have no idea.
Like your type of person, your type of group. Where do you fit?
So
Where do
it
you
was,
fit?
to me, that was really hard. Like my whole 3 years of high school, because I couldn't fit like exactly anywhere. I was like, well, I don't belong here. Well, I also don't belong here. And also my friends from church, because I became really close with them, they were all homeschoolers.
Oh.
And I was in a public school.
Yeah.
So it was really
That's interesting that you went to a church with lots of homeschoolers.
Oh yeah, like my whole like Sunday school group, we were like 6, 7 girls, and probably 5 of them were in homeschooling, and they were all doing it together because they grew up together. So yeah, that was something that it was really.
What about something that the Lord taught you during those 3 years?
Well, during those 3 years, my last year that I was with my aunt, we had a lot of like family problems, and it got to a point where I had to lock myself in the room that she was letting me stay. And my mom called me, you know, like, don't go out of the room, stay there, and just a lot of family stuff that were happening behind it that I was leaving it, but I didn't know about it.
Like, it didn't necessarily involve you only. Or like,
I guess the problem was me.
Oh.
But I mean, I'm not saying that I'm perfect, because I'm not, and I probably made a lot of mistakes, right? And to me, in my point of view, at the point, my aunt did also a lot of mistakes. So we were like in this like fighting arena, I guess.
Okay.
Between like, it's your fault, it's my fault, you know, like so. My uncle called my mom, like, please, you know, like, Debbie needs to go home, like, but not in a nice way, I guess, you know.
Okay.
So my mom is all the way in Mexico. She doesn't have a visa. I was underage, so I couldn't, you know, I didn't have a credit card or a card that I could buy a plane, and then the airport was 2 hours away, so it was like, it was really hard.
was
I
kinda
didn't have
messy.
a driver's license, so it was, yeah. And at that time, I think it was when the Lord actually spoke to me, like, in a sense of like, you know, I'm here, and even though your parents are not here, I'm still here, and even though, you know, all this situation is happening, I'm still here, and you can rely that I will be here, and I'll be your support, and you're gonna get through this, you know. I know the verse in Spanish, but I don't really know it in English. But that's also when
Say it in Spanish.
Okay. And Psalms 27:4 dice que te deleitarás en la casa de Jehová todos los días de tu vida, ¿no?
Delight yourself in the house of the Lord all the days of your life.
Yeah. And I like at the beginning when I read it, I was like, oh, okay, so I need to go to church, right? And then I was like, no, where's the house of the Lord when you're in prayer, when you're in that like communion with Him, right? When you read His Word and like it doesn't, you don't have to be literally in church, but you do have to be in this communion with Him. And at the end, I think it says like, todos los días de tu vida serás como feliz. I can't actually remember.
And all your days you will be, well, you'll be happy,
Yeah,
or you will rejoice, or something like that.
Something like that
Yeah.
says. You guys can go look it up. And then I understood, like, you know, like, this is the meaning of life. It's not that I came here to look for the High School Musical movie and that I went to the best church, or I did this, or I got this. This was the meaning, you know. And I feel like without, like, if I would have not moved, I don't know if I would have got like the whole picture of this God. It would have been more like, okay, you know, I keep growing in church like I always do, but yeah, God is there and I'm here, so yeah. He became everything that I didn't have. Protector, a father, a friend.
Do you want to share how He got you back home? Did your mom buy you a plane ticket, or?
Yeah, she did. She bought me a plane ticket, but so when I came to the States, my aunt went and picked me up. Literally from my house, she took me to the airport and we flew together.
All the way in Mexico.
Yeah.
She came all the way with you.
Yes. So she wanted me to go back with her all the way to my house. So that was also funny. Well, now it's funny. At the time, it was not funny. But yes, I actually. So this was around May, so like summertime, and then I had applied for a job already, and I was like, okay, I want to work and then I want to go home. And she was like, well, if you're going to stay in my house, these are the rules. And I was like, okay. So I talked to my mom about it and she was like, okay, if you want to stay and you think you can handle it, like, go ahead and stay. So I stayed the whole summer and then I went back on beginning of August probably. Okay. And she bought herself a ticket and took me all the way home.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Thank you, Debbie, for sharing. That was really beautiful how the Lord took care of you, and what He taught you in that point in your life. We should move ahead to the Rio Grande years, all right? Because that's when you guys met, right? Yeah. So we have a story there. Probably we need the short version of the story for now. But also, maybe, okay, let's start with Marley. How did the Lord get you to Rio Grande? Why did you say, I need to go study the Bible at a Bible college, a seminary? You were working in computers, like
yes,
computer programming or something like that.
Web design, computer programming.
Right.
I used to help a lot of Word of Life Honduras.
Oh, that was just in one of the other stories we recorded. Melissa and Ever were like part of Word of Life Honduras.
Yeah. I used to work with Melissa and Ever too. Okay. More with Melissa.
Okay.
And I think it was 2017. Maybe now like 2013, something like that. I remember that I was talking to the director in those times, and I told him, hey, I think the Lord is calling me to work for Him full time. But I have a question. Should I go directly to seminary or should I go to college before? And he's like, right now, a lot of missionaries are struggling a lot. I would suggest, like, if you could go to college, that would be better, and then you can go to the field. And I was like, all right, it sounds like a good option. So I went to college. I went through all the engineering, computer science engineer.
Oh, after Word of Life.
After Word of Life.
Oh, so you got like a career after that conversation.
Yes, correct. And then my last year, I was already working. And then in my last year, I told my boss, hey, I'm quitting. Next year, I need to go and study the Bible. And he's like, please don't leave me. And I'm like, hey, if I stay, your business is gonna go down. Like, believe me, I have no idea how does that work, but it's going down. And he's like, no, I'll triple your whatever salary. I'll triple it. I'm like, believe me, I can't. I have to go.
It's gonna be like Jonah. The
I know.
storm's gonna come. The boat's gonna sink. I gotta obey.
I know.
Okay.
So-
So you knew that when you graduated, you wanted to go
Yes.
study the Bible.
Yeah. So
That was
my last
already
year
there.
of college, I started searching for a lot of seminaries, and my first option was going to Scotland. There was a seminary over there.
Interesting.
And I was going to
You
live
already
with
spoke
a-
English at this point.
Yes.
Okay.
And so I was going to live with a missionary that was already there, but then something happened in his life and he has to move. So I was like, yeah, I guess I'm not going to Scotland anymore. It's too expensive. Let's find another way.
Okay.
And Daniel Puerto and David Puerto, they used to be students here.
Yeah.
Sarah Puerto too. His dad he was my pastor before.
Oh, okay.
So we have a long relationship with them, and they were like, "Why don't you go to RGPI?" And I'm like, "You're right. Why not?" So I applied, and then here I am.
Yeah.
Here I am. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. And does the Word of Life Honduras, is it continuing still?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. That's because I've always hear about Word of Life Argentina, and I don't hear about the one in Honduras that much. I was just wondering if it was still continuing on.
Well, the one in Argentina, they have an institute. In
Oh, okay.
Honduras, it's just camps and helping with churches.
Okay.
The
Okay.
youth. Yeah.
All right. So you got to the Bible college first, right? And then Debbie came. No, Debbie was there already? Or you both came at the same time?
Same time.
Ah.
I came a week earlier.
Oh, okay. Okay.
hat.
So you guys were part of the same generation,
Yep.
the same class.
Yeah.
Okay. This will be the short version of the story. At what point were you interested in her, and at what point were you like, okay, I'm gonna like get to know this guy and see how it goes? Because I remember there were like 3 girls that were you had 2 friends. You guys were always together.
Yes.
And so, like, how did you say like that one of the 3 is the one?
All right, this is gonna be hopefully the shortest version. I'll try. So when I came, there was a dinner for all the singles, right, in the girls' dorm.
Oh, was it Valentine's Day?
No, it was
like
before.
the
Per-
first
before
day I arrived.
So
even
okay. For context for the podcast, I think every year they do like an open house where either all the guys go over to the girls' dorm, or all the girls go over to the guys' dorm, or
Yeah.
something like that for
Yes.
like a special event.
yes.
And there's definitely the deans and everyone there.
Well, this
Sometimes.
was the
No?
first week when they get when you get the tour of like all the buildings. So the literally
okay.
first week when you're
Yes.
there, when no one else is there but the new people.
And why
or
were
new
you in the girls'
students.
dorm?
Because they did a dinner there.
Yes.
With the
But it
students?
was, no, but it was just
But it
all
was just-
new.
Yes.
All new students.
All the new
Only the
students.
new students.
Only the new
New
one.
students.
I do not remember that. I
So-
did not realize that happened.
So
Okay.
when I came, I was the second one to
Okay.
come, and then Pamela was the first one, and then it was me, and then it was Sylvia. So when I got there, I remember telling Pamela, "Hey, can you show up like 10 minutes before, whatever? I don't want to be by myself in the girls' dorm and not knowing anyone." And she was like, "Yeah, no problem." So I show up like as we agreed, and then she never show up, and I was like, "What's going on?" I was texting her, "Where are you? What's up?" And then she came.
You're in the girls' dorm?
Yes.
In like the common area?
Yes, in the
Yeah.
common area with I don't remember who was the deacon in that moment,
Okay.
and
The dean.
and the dean, and then some other guys. Right, it wasn't just me. Context. And then finally she showed up with Debbie, and I'm like, "Huh, who's that girl?" But that was it. And then we started talking to each other, and when I got interested, is that our first Sunday, 2 Sundays, we started working on the church, and I saw that she was the only one in the whole group that went and talked to the kids. Like, she was into the kids. If one kid was by himself or by herself, she was going to that kid and start making fun and try to include him with the rest of the kids and teaching them. And I'm like, check.
That one stands out. Okay. All right. Okay, and Debbie, what about from your side?
It was a little different because I was 19, so I was like, like I was the youngest of all of us. So the other two girls that you mentioned, they were like really like,
They took care of you?
yeah, kind of a thing. Like like they took me under their wings. Like like you're little, you need to do this and this, and I guess it didn't work out as well as they planned. No,
Or
but
maybe it did. I
maybe
don't know.
it did. Yeah, I don't know. But like an interest, it took me a while, honestly, because I mean I was there to study. I was, and then I talked to my mom about it, and she was like not for it. She was like, "You're
It's
there
like,
to
you're
study.
there to study the Bible.
Yes,
not-
exactly.
not
Exactly. Not
guys."
something else. Exactly. And this is your first semester. You can be thinking on that right now. You're too young and all this. So it took me a while. Maybe I want to say, well, not a while, but to probably show him something. I don't know, like less than a semester. Yeah.
By the end of the first semester,
No,
you're like,
yeah. Well, yeah.
or
Yeah,
the
I think
second
so.
semester.
No, yeah, by the
No,
end
but
of
the
the
end of-
first.
In the first semester, you're like, okay, we
This is
could
what
be
happened.
friends. I can
Yeah.
get to know you,
Yeah.
and we'll go from there. It's like, let's take it slow.
Yeah, kind of a thing.
Okay, when
There's
did you
some things
guys
between.
wait? Okay, when did you guys get married? In the whole process,
2022.
But he was already out of the
because
seminary.
you graduated in 3 years,
Yeah.
right? You did it in 3 years, but you were still studying.
Yeah, I graduated a semester after him.
Okay, but you got married
After she
After
got
I
in.
was done.
after you got done. Okay, so finished school,
Yeah.
got married.
Yes.
All right,
Yes.
good job.
Thank you.
All right. So we could talk probably a lot about the time at the Bible college. Is there any story that you're like, I have to tell this part about, like, as far as something you learned or something crazy that happened? Because I want to spend some time about what happened next and also about your guys' future plans.
Okay.
But before we, is there anything else besides the fact that you guys met each other that was good that happened at the Bible college?
I would say probably our calling, because he had a different calling that I did. He wanted to be a seminary teacher,
Oh.
and in our seminary, the wives are teachers mainly. They're at home, being wives, and I was like, no. I don't want to be a wife, like in a good sense. Like I don't want to be at home taking care of kids and cleaning and cooking. That's not my calling. Like I mean, I can do that. I don't mind, but I'm here. I was here for 3 years and a half. I'm not gonna be at home for forever. Like I need to do something. And even before that, like I had plans already. Like where I was. Like after I was done, like what I wanted to do. So
What was that? What was your idea for after?
okay, missions. I didn't
Okay.
know where or how or if it was gonna be back at home, because also my church at home, they have a lack of a program of missions. They don't have that at all. So
Back home in Mexico.
Yes. So when I was here and I studied missions and all that, it kind of like broke my heart noticing that my church did not have it. I was like, what am I doing? I'm going out, but my own church doesn't have it. So there's something wrong here. So in my brain it was like either go back home and help out with the church or be a missionary somewhere, because
Okay.
I didn't know at the time exactly where the Lord wanted me. So yeah, I was, and then he comes and he's like, well, I want to be a seminary teacher. And I was like, well, good luck. 'Cause I'm not gonna.
It was like,
I'm
God
not
bless.
gonna-
Go
Yes.
for it. Go for it.
Yes, and
I mean, that was a very interesting step for my life, at least, because I remember working with Enrico, and we did a lot. He taught me so many things, and
How were you working with Richo?
I was in charge of. Well, you made me in charge of all the publicity and videos
Oh,
for the
yeah,
conference.
for the missions conference.
Yeah,
That's
Uno
right.
Es, I remember.
Right. That was still probably one of our best promotions of a missions conference, I think, that we've ever done. It's a
Yeah.
good job.
So, I mean, after that, we just continued talking, kind of like a mentorship, and he started involving me in so many different things about religions around the world. He has a lot of passion in specifically with one of them, and he was like, hey, I want you to believe, like, I want you to have a heart for them. And I'm like, listen, I'm sorry, like, it's not for me. And then we came to talk about Muslims, and I always had the same phrase: they were so close, but at the same time so far away. We both came from Abraham, and then we split, and then we're like, what happened here? And since that moment, I'm like, God, are you really calling me to go and work for them? And I'm like, all right, I'm not gonna tell anybody, not even my parents, not even Debbie, nobody. I just stayed like for almost 8 months praying by myself. And then I remember that it was at the end of November in 2019 that I called Debbie, and I'm like, hey, I need to talk to you. Like, if we really want to pursue this or something, continue talking, I believe that God is calling me to the missions, right? And I remember...
Specifically with Muslims in mind.
Yes.
Wow, okay. I didn't
So
realize that.
I remember that she started crying and said something like, I was praying for the same thing. And since that moment, I mean, we kept talking, and then I went to Honduras. That was my second step of like God confirming to me, was telling my parents. And my parents was like, I'm just gonna ask you for one thing: finish college, finish seminary.
Yeah.
So that is not something emotional. And if at the end of your seminary it's still there, like, we're gonna support you. And yeah, that's what happened throughout my 3 years in there. My growth, or my love for them.
But,
Yeah.
all right. Okay, so now let me make sure we're still happily recording. Yes, we are. All right.
Here.
Very good. Oh man, we're doing good on time too. I
Wow.
was like, oh, we're taking a long time. But no, we're good. We have time to talk about now. All right. So I can start us off with, you guys are Avant missionaries.
Yeah.
You guys have been accepted, done the training. I went to the whole, like, it was almost like a graduation ceremony on Zoom. It was
Yeah,
crazy.
it
There was
was,
like
it was,
100
it
people
was.
there
Oh,
or
yes,
something.
yes.
And they're like, there was like certificates or something. It was crazy. Like so that was after the whole like missionary candidate process, including training and preparation. And you guys are can we say where you guys are headed and stuff like that? Like, it's not restricted, or is it?
No, it's fine. You
I
can
mean,
say
just
we're
the country.
Okay, so you guys are headed to Spain with Avant.
Yeah.
But the ministry is focused on
Yeah.
Muslims. All right. So that's how much I know. And I know that you guys are raising support, I think.
Yes.
I know that Debbie is the head director of our children's ministry at our church now.
Yes.
Fill me in on a little bit on how it got to that point, and then also I want to hear, what are you guys' like dreams and vision for the future? Like, what are you praying for God to do? So, but yeah, also why Avant? Why Spain? Those kinds of things. Yeah, I don't know. Just fill me in a little bit more on the plan and the process.
So where do we start?
Where do we start? Okay, why Avant?
Okay, why Avant? Well, that is a question for God, actually. It's not for us, and let me tell you. You want to answer, or do I?
I mean, everything started because my last semester in seminary, I was like sitting down and I said, God, why do you make me study college computer science and then bring me here and study Christian education? How can I make them possible go together?
Computer science and Christian education.
Like nothing,
Yeah.
right?
Okay.
And then I got an email saying, hey, we need somebody that can work in IT department, and then hopefully they can also allow us to create things or material to share the gospel with Muslims. And I was like, wow, that's a very nice email. Like, I really want to apply.
How did you get that email? Who sent you that? Where did it come from?
That's a very good question. I think
One
it
of
was
One of the teachers from
John White.
IBI.
Oh.
Yes.
Oh, because he's an Avant missionary.
Yes.
So he's like, I think I might know who this email is for.
right, but in the same email there was 72 people attached. So I was like, nah, I'm not gonna apply. There's so many people.
Okay,
Like, this
okay.
is not for me.
It went out to 72 different people.
Yes, and
From
then
Mr. John, because like imagine all Avant missionaries, they got the same email, and then you sending it to 72,
Yeah.
you 70, like there's
Uh-huh.
like hundreds of people
Yes.
that could get the email.
And then another friend that he's even more deep in this world, like he sent me the email. Hey Marley, have you seen this email? And he sent me the email exact same words,
The
and
same
I'm
words.
like,
It
listen.
came back.
If a third one comes, I will apply. And Raquel, that worked with us, he said, hey, somebody sent me this email. But I thought I knew. Why don't you apply? And I'm like, all right, I'll do it.
Okay, so that's what started you guys with Avant. Avant
Yes.
actually, so that's, I mean, with Rio Grande, sometimes we need workers. And it's like, is
Yeah.
it worth it to put it out there like that we need someone?
No.
It worked in this case. It got to the
So,
right
there you
person.
go.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, so, and then what has it's been a process.
Yeah.
You guys are not in Spain yet.
No, definitely not.
What have you had to get done and what is there left to do in order to get to Spain?
Okay, so after Marley got the email, he applied, he got accepted, then we got married, so that kind of paused his process because he was like full speed on going to Spain by the end of 2020, right? 2021.
21.
So a little bit over than more, 2, 3, 4, 3 years now. He was kind of going without me, which I was like, okay, if you're going without me, then this is it, because, I mean, be real. To be honest, yeah.
Okay.
So.
But then he's like,
you
no,
know-
actually, I want to get married.
No. Well, yes and no. There was a lot of things I think that the Lord needed to change in both of our hearts. So he worked with him like really hard. not that he didn't do it with me, but it was like separated, but the same things and things that we needed to fix. One of my things that I know that Lord taught me was you need to put your eyes on me, not on anyone else. You won't be depending on Marley, it's on me. So, and with Marley was something different. So after that, he spoke with Avant saying, hey, there's this person in the picture now, and they were like, oh, okay, well, we're going to pause your process for a minute, fix what you need to fix, or like get done what you need to get done.
Get your
and
life
then,
together.
yes. And then, like send us an email whenever you're ready. And through all this process, they were part of Marley's process, I guess. Even when we got married, like they knew what was happening in his life. So I kind of became alongside this process, but I was not part of Avant. So I needed to be part of Avant. So when I applied, it was after we got married, a couple months after we got married. And then a whole new process begun because Avant has this, it's not a rule, but there's advice that you should not go into the field with less than a year married, because the field will put pressure in your marriage. And why? Because you're going to be in a new country, new language, everything is going to be new, plus a new marriage. Like it's like too much for you, right?
Yeah.
So in that sense, they took care of us, like
Yeah.
advising us wisely, like, hey, be patient, be focused on your marriage for this whole year, and then we'll talk. And this year, Debbie can apply to become a missionary for an Avant. So that's what I did, and we our process was like great. It was like going, and then the Lord was like, okay, we need to slow down. And it was like the door shut on our faces, like
Like in what way? With Avant?
yeah, kind of a thing. Avant, and when they told us like, hey, you need to wait a whole year. In our hearts, we were ready, like to go to.
Yeah.
We,
Like a
we
year
had,
sounds like
yes,
so much time.
Yes,
It's like,
exactly.
Yeah.
We were like, we had our bags ready, everything was packed, and then they told us, wait, you do your life, and then we'll see. And I was like, what do you mean we'll see? Like, no, like we're ready to go. I have my plane ticket right now, right? And so the Lord, for us, was like the end of the world. Like, okay, God, maybe you don't want us to be missionaries
now what?
anymore.
Now where
Yes.
are we going?
Now what? Now what do we do? Are we staying here in the States? Are we staying here in Texas? Are we moving? Like, what do you want us to do? And at the time we were coming to Redeemer, but I wasn't really connected with it because I felt like I don't have to be connected because the Lord's going to tell me anytime soon, you have to go. And I'll be ready with my bag. So I don't have to be connected with anyone, right? And it was a whole process for the Lord to show us, your local church is really, really important. If you're not coming with a church, because we do have a sending church, which is Marley's church in Honduras, but it's different because we don't see them every Sunday. We're not with them. If we need something, they can't jump in and do it for us. You know what I mean? Not financially, more than financially, anything like physically or any kind of way. It's different. Yes, they support us in prayer, and now that we went, it was great to see brothers that I've never seen before, and I know they're praying for me, and it was amazing. But so the Lord was like really teaching us local church matter more than you think.
That's when the next question comes up, because during all of that time, we were praying for somebody that can take care of the ministry kids here in Redeemer. Like, God, can you provide for someone that really is going to put a lot of effort and time so that the kids can learn and grow up? Because I mean, we believe that even a kid from 1 year old, he's going to learn something, at least a word, but he's going to learn something. And we were praying for that the whole year, and then a van came. We continued our process, and they were like, "All right, you're ready to do our what is it called, exploratory trip or
The exploratory trip, like the summer trip?
Yeah.
you guys took?
vision trip."
Vision trip.
So
okay.
we went over there. We loved it. We're like,
You met the
yes.
people.
We met the people. We even went to one of the countries, and we're like, yes, this is our place.
Okay, so like crazy side note, like one of the people there that was part of the team that you're going to be part of is now part of my media team.
Yes.
So like you were on the media
super
team
crazy.
with
We're
me,
exchanging.
and now you're going.
We're exchanging
and
teams.
she's here.
Yes, I know.
Yes.
Okay.
And then we came back here, and then our pastor was like, "Hey, I want to talk to you." I mean, to both of us, and we're like, "Are we in trouble or what?" Like, because of the sound, like how he did it. And then we're like, "All right, I mean, we have to show up." And we make a little debrief on our trip, and then he's like, "So I have a news for you. I want Debbie to be the new kids ministry director." And we're like, I mean, in our heads, we're like, "But we're leaving. You know, our bags are packed. Our tickets is almost done. Like, we want to leave." And we start praying. We went to a Samaritan's Purse training. And the guy was
By
talking-
accident.
It was by accident, yes.
We didn't know we were gonna stay in the training. Marty had a friend that was coming with the training, and he wanted to say hi to his friend that was giving the training. So we were just there to say hi, and then the training started, and I was like so embarrassed to go out. I was like, okay, let's just.
Well, he also invited us, "Hey, why don't you stay for a minute?" And we're
Okay.
like, "All right, why not? Just a
Okay.
minute."
Okay.
And then the guy was like, "So what are your excuses for not doing ministry in your local church as a teacher for kids?" And he started mentioning like 10 different excuses.
Well, he also said, what are the challenges you see in when you do kids ministry? And at the time when our pastor offered me this position, I was like, I don't know if I can do it. I don't know if I'm like the right person. I don't know if I'm like not holy enough, but you know what I mean? Like I don't know if God has like a standard and I meet this standard. What if I don't do that, right? What if, there's a person more capable than I am? And all these kind of things that were going through my mind. Also, like
And just the knowing that eventually you guys are leaving to another place. Like that has to be part of it, right?
Yeah.
But
And then on the training, it was funny because I didn't say nothing. There's a lot of people in there from different churches, and then they all started saying what I was thinking, like, well, sometimes we have thoughts that we're not capable of enough. Maybe we don't have like tons of kids. Like here in Redeemer, we have a small group of elementary, right? My dream was like to have 100 kids. And I was like, yeah, that's all me. Like I was checking all those boxes, and then he said, well, you know what, the devil also doesn't want you to do ministry, and that just tear me down, and it was like I'm sorry, Lord, because I know this is what you want for me right now. And I was like running away from it. Because in my brain it was like, you're not capable of doing that. So yeah. And then he read a couple of verses that I was like, okay, I'm sorry, I'll do it.
So this random training, the Lord used it to just show you guys to work where you're at, even though you may have other plans, and He has a plan for you, but we're still called to be active where we're at.
Yes.
So, okay, that's beautiful. Thank you for sharing that. Are you guys at the stage of raising support right now?
So we're finalizing some details on our budget right now.
Okay.
And hopefully by the end of this month,
We will.
we will.
Be raising support.
Yes.
Okay. Okay, so some of your story is similar to my story because like I was going to Rio Grande and raising support and then decided to get married and then had to restart. So I had to apply and then we were raising support and I wanted to be there in like 6 months and instead it took us like 3 years to raise support. Okay, so I know the Lord changes plans.
Yeah.
Yes.
But if like your dream right now, like when would you be in Spain and what is your plan to be doing like
There,
once you get
okay.
there? Share that. And okay, we're cold because the sun has gone down. So let's share like five more minutes
Okay.
and then we will wrap it up.
Tomorrow?
As soon as possible.
Yes.
Lord,
That
give
would
us
be
give us the budget money and
Yeah.
send us.
Yes.
I totally identify with that.
Yes.
I mean, the thing is that this is like a really short story. We were in the middle of nowhere in this Muslim country, and we were like, I mean, we're from Latin America. We recognize when a place is not that secure, and in the middle of nowhere, basically with our lives right there, like we could have died in that moment. We're like, yes, this is the place I want to be.
Oh wow. That was a place that was not in Spain.
Yeah.
Not in Spain.
Right, you were in a dangerous place.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
on,
we're like
on your own, right? Or
on
something?
our own.
On your own. And you're like,
we
Lord,
didn't. We
it
didn't
has us
spoke
here.
the language. Nothing. We didn't anything at all. We didn't know anything at all.
We didn't have a map.
Nothing.
Like,
not even Google Maps. Nothing. Like we
we
didn't
didn't
have
have a
that.
phone,
At all.
yeah.
And you had peace.
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah.
And in that moment, we're like, in that moment, we're like, all right, let's walk. Don't look back. Just keep walking. And then once we went to the room, our hotel room, we're like, I asked Debbie, how do you feel? And she's like, I want to be here. And I was like, yeah, me too.
Wow.
It's just
So-
just to see a lot of the ladies there. It just kind of broke my heart to see and know how much freedom we have, and that we know the truth. And it doesn't matter like if you do things right or wrong. In a sense of the Lord will still forgive you because He already did. And for them, it's just like a prison.
It's like performance.
Yes,
Yeah.
They have to
and their
be
brain is
perfect.
just like, like in prison. Like I can never be good enough because that just breaks my heart. And when we were at the hotel, the prayer, the calling of the prayer, it also kind of like annoyed me in a sense of like this, like just to think about how many people would be praying at the moment. It just kind of like to the not real God. I was like in shock. I was like, wait, what are you doing? Don't, like don't do it because
Wow.
I know the truth. I can tell you all about it. And so
Wow.
yeah, so that did feel not like home, but yes, like that was a place that we needed to be
Wow.
because the Lord wanted us to be there. So
And it was sad because here, whenever you felt that, you can just go in. Oh yeah, I know your solution. It's God.
Yeah.
But over there, we just like we can't say
Just
anything
can't.
like just freely.
You
Yeah.
cannot openly just share.
No,
So
it's hard.
So that's part of the reason you're joining this team that's finding creative ways
Yes.
to get the gospel into
Yes.
that people group, that country,
yes.
the
And
places that
eventually-
are more close to the gospel.
Yes, and eventually, I mean, we both want to learn the language. We both want to learn how is to live in between them, so that maybe one day we can be in between them and nobody noticing.
Wow. Wow.
Hopefully,
I'm on an 85-day Duolingo streak right now.
Wow.
I need to start mine.
I don't know. Part of me gave up a while back. I'm like, this is not going to work. But I'm like, well, hey, it's the one thing I can do, so I should stick with it. Anyway,
Yeah.
so all right. So we can pray for you that the Lord would give you the funding at the right time. He would send you to the team and to the work that He has for you, and but that He would continue to use you right here where He has you, which for me is a huge blessing because you're part of my church family. That is a blessing. It's been really cool to have you guys as part of the Redeemer family. I don't know if you guys were here before we were or after we were, maybe almost the same time, because we during our language school years. And then the year after, we were part of an only Spanish church. And then for the kids, speaking of kids ministry, we're like, our kids don't speak Spanish yet. They need to be hearing the Bible in English. And let's find out like a bilingual family we can be part of.
Yeah.
So yeah. Okay. All right. So I hope in a few years down the road that we can have part C. Actually, no, it would be B. This is English. This is
Yes,
English. This
it
is part
is
A in
English.
English. Because we had the Spanish. We had Spanish with
Yeah.
just Marley, but that was a year or so ago.
Yeah, I think it was maybe 2 years ago, 2023 or something.
Yeah. So, but a few years down the road, it would be really cool to check back in and see what has God done, where He has you, and all that. So, thank you guys. Thank you for sharing.
Thank you, Billy.
Anytime.
This podcast is a part of Rio Grande Bible Ministries. If you want to learn more about the Bible College that's in Spanish, the language school to learn Spanish, the radio station, or Bibleville, or any of the other ministries of Rio Grande, find us at riogrande.edu. That's our website, riogrande.edu. And if you want to interact with the podcast, if you want to ask questions, give us feedback, you can find us on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube, searching for Entre Hermanos. Make sure to add Rio Grande to your search, and we will be the first ones to show up. Thank you for listening to our podcast, Entre Hermanos, which means Between Brothers.